Welcome to this new section of the course. This is section 1. Technically it is the first section, even though we have that introduction section. This whole course is all about planning your flight. It's all about filling in documents that I've prepared and set up for us here. It's documents 1 to 10. We did go through them in the introduction videos. However, you will see, as I explained just now, you'll see that the FOM, wherever my mouse is, the FOM, I've moved it to the end, okay? I've also gone ahead and filled in things, section, whatever, of all the things. And that's how we're going to do this course. I did mention this already, but I'm going to be using a real-life example. The real-life example is going to be a makeshift DFE for a renewal of an examiner's DFE rating by the CAA. So I'm going to be involved with something pretty hectic. The CAA is going to come and watch the DFE give me an exam, which means that the CAA is going to watch me as an instructor, how I respond to things, and it's going to watch the DFE, how he manages things. I am going to keep, for now, obviously I will fill it in my own time later on for the actual DFE thing, but for now I'm going to keep names private, okay? I don't know if people want me sharing their names all over the place. Last thing I want to mention is that I'm going to be doing it with a multi-rotor as well as an aeroplane. So you guys are going to see the best of both worlds. You're going to see both of these. Normally what I would do is I would do completely two separate. One of these whole things would be the multi-rotor and one of these whole things would be the fixed wing. With each section 1, for example, section 1A, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make a second one of these. Everywhere that it is necessary, I will make a second one so that I can put the multi-rotor details as well as the fixed wing details. Alright, now that we've got all of that stuff out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and begin the lesson. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because I've got two separate things, two separate RPAs that I'm going to be using, specifically because this is flight details, I'm going to be making a second one of these. Alright, so this is section 1A, which means section 1 flight details, a flight requirement checklist. So this is our 5 W's and an H. Anyone that comes from the first course, you'll remember your 5 W's and an H. It's basically all your question words, okay? All your questions about why are we flying this flight. So I'm going to fill this in. This first one, I'll do it in red. I'm going to make my answers in colored text so that you know what my answers are versus what was part of the FOM. Question 1. Why are we flying on this day? Why are we flying this mission? What is our purpose? The way I've done this first section is I've gone ahead and filled this in myself so we can then go through it together instead of me typing and talking at the same time. Why am I flying? Well, I'm here to assist the DFE with the CAA approved rating examination. Literally, this will just be your answer to what is the purpose of the mission. Next is what. This is talking about what will we be flying. I will be flying, my first thing is an aeroplane, because he made it very clear that the most important thing is the airplane, so that must be my first work. But I will also prepare the multi-rotor and you'll see that there as well. Okay, so for our airplane, we've got the E-Flight Apprentice. And for the multi-rotor, we've got the DJI Phantom 4. Of course, you would decide this based on what you were doing for your flight, right? If you were doing your why, I mean, we talked about this all in the first course, but if your why is because you want to do some surveillance, you know, some thorough surveillance, pinpoint surveillance, then you're only going to use a multi-rotor, and you might even look at something even more stable than a Phantom 4. These questions were just laid out like that in what is usually the most appropriate order. But for example, if we went to when and it turned out to be a night flight, maybe you'd have to come back to your what and see if you can find a drone that would work better with nighttime flying. Maybe it has the right light systems on it or something like that. We then go to where. You obviously will find out the where of where you're flying. You need to know your location. If you don't know your location, you can't even get where you need to go. But of course, before that, you need to know your location so you can do all the other assessments, specifically the next section, section 2, which will be your site assessments. So where is going to be Gerotech Testing Facilities. It is a facility here in South Africa. Specifically, it is in Pretoria West in Gauteng in South Africa. I do tend to put the detail of the where because you can use that where detail later on. For example, your emergency response plan. When is looking at what is the date and time. And for me, it is the 22nd of March. It is a Wednesday, and it's going to be from early morning through to early afternoon. Second to last is your who. This is going to be who. Firstly, who is flying is the most important thing, but secondly, who will be doing anything else involved for your mission, for the purpose of the mission. So my who is 3. I have 3 people involved. The first one is myself as PIC, pilot in command. Then I've got ST as DFE. Like I said, I'm not putting names, so just initials. He will be the DFE, and then the CAA official or officials will be the examiners of the whole process. They will be the observers, but not the observers of the flights. They will be the observers of, technically the observers of the flight, but also the observers of the whole operation. And finally, we have how. How is talking about how do you want to be flying, how do you plan to fly, and then how do you expect to fly. So my how is my planning is RV loss. AMAP stands for as much as possible. Okay, so when it comes to training purposes and DFE purposes, things like that, you want to be RV loss as much as possible, especially where I'm going to be flying at Geratech. Geratech is a known manned aircraft route, which means for multi-rotors it's fine. That's one thing, because I can maintain low height with them. But with a fixed wing, it's going to get a lot more complicated, because a fixed wing needs the height and it needs the size, the length of the flight to be able to do the maneuvers that a DFE needs. I'm gonna have to fly a big portion of the sky right in between all the manned traffic, so it's going to be a pretty hectic thing to do, and that's why this is a very good thing that I'm doing now, using this example to cover this course. After all of that, after that little explanation there, what I meant by RV loss as much as possible is that as much as I can, I am going to fly below the highest objects around me, or I'm going to fly below 150 feet. RV loss is restricted visual line of sight. I want to fly close to me as much as possible. Duh, if there's manned aircraft, I'm going to fly close to myself. But I know that with a fixed wing, VLOS will be necessary. VLOS is your general flight rules. It's the flight rules that you're allowed to fly once you have a pilot's license. And because of this, I've made a note that my radio work will be required for all the manned traffic around. I will have to have a charged radio, I will have to have it on the right frequency, and I will have to speak on the radio every 5 minutes. If I'm flying a fixed wing and it's in amongst other manned aircraft, I'm probably wanting to be on the radio every 5 minutes. Okay, now, I know I said I put these things in here, but now I actually remembered that I made a whole second thing for this. So I'm going to go and fill this one in according to the fixed wing, remove the fixed wing stuff out of here. In fact, why am I doing that? I'm just gonna do this because I've done it now, so there you go. So that's your section A video. That's how you do your 5 W's and an H. We're then going to move on in the next section, or the next part of this section is going to be our system details checklist. We're going to do one for multi-rotor. I'm going to use this one as the multi-rotor one, and we're going to do one for fixed wing, and I'm going to make this green so that I know that this is your fixed wing.